Launched in '63, the 911 quickly proved itself as a rally car. But when Porsche turned their attentions to circuit racing in the '70s, they found themselves in need of a few hundred street-legal 911 race cars to meet new homologation rules. What they came up with was the 2.7 Carrera RS, RS standing for Rennsport, a name that's now shared with Paul Cockrell's company, where this iconic competition 911 of 1973 is celebrated and reimagined. So has it always been 911s? Have you ever dabbled with anything else?
I've dabbled with a few of the different cars, but 911s is always in my heart since I left school. And I was actually working on the 1980s cars when they were brand new. Inspiration for Rennsport was sort of reliving my youth when I bought the first 3.2 Carrera, which was around 2007, 2008, when they weren't very much money, and I converted it visually into a 2.7 RS.
Oh right, so you did your own.
I did my own.
Right.
I did a Grand Prix white with the Mexico blue stripes and blue script on it, and it sort of went from there.
So this was originally an '88 car, which you've obviously resto modded to make look like a '73 RS or a touring version of a '73 RS, had Porsche ever built one. You're going to get the purists that say, you know, mucking around with any 911 is absolute sacrilege. What's your view on that?
We do get that off a lot of people. We're very close to the Porsche Club. We do get Porsche Club owners come over and say that it's sacrilege doing what we do. But the cars which we actually use are 1980s cars. They're impact bumper cars. There's thousands and thousands of them out there. It was an everyday sports car in the 80s. In my eyes, it's not really sacrilege. I think it would be if we were doing it to an original 72 narrow-bodied car and doing it. Maybe it would be.
Yeah.
But there's that many of them out there. I'm very much for believing to, if you want to build something, build it how you want it. That's Rennsport all over. So we stripped it back to its bare shell and started again.
So what is this now running?
It's now running a 3.5 litre engine,
yeah,
which the base is the original 3.2 Carrera, but it's now taken out to 3.5, running on independent injection system. It's the throttle body system which we use, which we've just developed with AT Power. And then it runs its own standalone ECU, which is fully programmable, so we can get the optimum performance out of it. It's around 350 horsepower on this one at the moment.
About 350, wow. Yeah. I know there's a certain Californian resto mod company that tends to go for the later models and has all the coilovers and things. You've tried to keep things a bit more in keeping with the original, is that right? Is it still on the torsion bars?
It is still on the torsion bars. We have done the 964 conversions with the coilovers and 3.8 engines and 4 litre engines, but we're finding that more and more people now want the feel and the authentic 911 feel of the torsion bar, lightweight cars, which it sort of got lost on its way. As the 964 came out, it just started putting on kilos and kilos in weight.
What does this weigh roughly?
This is around 1,100 kilos at the moment.
The 73 car, the 73 RS and RSR are the things that really drive you here. These are the inspiration pretty much for everything you do. Why particularly the 73 car?
It's the shape of the 73 car before it got ruined with the big impact bumpers. It just shouts 911. We've actually manufactured it and made it all by hand out of lightweight steel. Panel beaten the old-fashioned way. We use as much thin gauge steel as we can just to try and reduce the weight down a little bit, but we don't go ridiculously far on it because we're building it as a road car. We do actually go against the grain and put a bit of soundproofing in it. It's the way people want the cars now, is a road car to drive around nicely and have a conversation in.
Your ethos really is to take a classic design and make it better.
It's a nod to the original RSR, but it's got that nice luxury feel when you're driving it. Air conditioning, sunroof, sat-nav, Bluetooth. It doesn't have ABS and it doesn't have traction control.
With a free-revving 210 horsepower on tap, the original RS could hit 60 in just 5.6 seconds, 100 miles per hour in less than 13, and sail on to 150. But if you wanted even more, you could tick the option box marked M491 and the boffins in Zuffenhausen would shave off another 80 kilos of excess weight and work over the new 2.8 litre block to give you 308 bhp. Only 55 Rennsport Rennwagons, meaning race sport race cars, were ever built. On track, the RSR was phenomenal, winning the Targa Florio, the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring, all in its first season. This is the motorsport legend that inspires the guys at Rennsport, and it's the closest thing that a mere mortal like me will ever get to that childhood hero. Designed by Butzi Porsche, grandson of Ferdinand Porsche, this car is just easy to drive. They ergonomically got the 911 right first time of trying. It isn't cramped and awkward and overcomplicated like some early classics can be. It's just a very easy retro supercar. Now this thing is how Rennsport would have imagined an RSR touring would have turned out if Porsche had ever built one. So it's got a few creature comforts, things like sunroof, air conditioning, a heater that works, these beautiful reclining shield seats which are period correct, and it's got a few period nods to the original RS, such as the flat black door cards, the layout of the dash. Everything is very familiar, but it's got some lovely touches, some nods to other Porsche racing greats, such as the balsa wood gear knob from the 917. I was a little bit nervous about taking out something packing 320 brake horsepower or thereabouts on these greasy Cotswold roads, but it just feels so planted, it feels absolutely bob on. People say that you should never meet your heroes. Well, balls to that, because this thing is awesome. Only about 50 genuine RSRs were ever built, and a good portion of those were stuffed into the Armco by gentlemen drivers back in the day. They almost never come up for sale. And a few years ago, when classic 911 prices were going absolutely mental, the RSR, good RSR lightweights were fetching nearly 7 figures. So if you're a dyed-in-the-wool 911 fanatic like I am, and you've got about 100 grand burning a hole in your chinos, and you really want to scratch that 911 itch, well, you've got a difficult decision to make, because you could go out and buy a brand new 911 for about 100 grand. You could pick up the Carrera S, the 992, or you could go to the guys at Rennsport and have them build you something really special. A car that will probably hang on to its value and pays homage to perhaps the classic, the ultimate, the greatest air-cooled 911 that Porsche ever made. As Butzi Porsche's old man, Ferry Porsche, famously once said, I couldn't find the sports car of my dreams, so I had to build one instead. So, I mean, roughly how many hours would go into this sort of car?
On average, between sort of 900 and 1,000 hours to each car for a build.
When you were thinking about designing this, why did you build it to this particular spec?
Orange is my favourite colour.
Right.
The RSR body is my favourite body for the car. I like the big arches, I like the ducktail, although a lot of cars now have gone for the flat boot lid.
Yeah.
The ducktail's coming back in, I love that. I love the spot lamps on the front, I think it's just a period effect. Everything about this car is just everything that I want, and the way that I can use it as a daily car.
You've designed this with, you know, a real driver in mind, haven't you? It's been used as it's supposed to be used.
It is. I've got a 1970 911 upstairs, which is stuck in a carcoon, and it's a sort of garage queen, but there's no point in having it. It's an investment only, and it's a bit boring. It's just nothing to it. I like to drive it, and I like to drive it hard.
I have seen that, Paul.
I'm not shy. Reliving my youth or midlife crisis, whatever it is.
These poor rear tyres.
Tyres can get replaced.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there's any point in having a car unless you're going to use it. What's the point in having 350 horsepower if you're not actually going to use it every now and then? Some people are in it as a game of top trumps.
Well, yeah.
That's it.
That's what it is, isn't it?
I'm in it because I want to use it.